So we are going to repair an extension cord that got all munched up by the electric lawnmower. I've already cut the plastic back on this side, and now we have to do the same thing over here. And obviously, we just need to sacrifice this whole portion because that's not worth saving. Here's a honkin' big pair of wire cutters, and I've just cut that piece out, and it can go away. So we're left here with the smooth piece.
Oh, you're not quite in the view.
Aha, okay. Thank you. So, we're going to, ouch, cut this down. And I have little wire cutters that are probably 50 years old. I used to work in in manufacturing plants. Other things you could have are an X-Acto knife, which you could use, pointing the X-Acto knife away from your hand. So there's an X-Acto knife cutting the plastic. You would want to be careful not to cut down into the wires too much. I'm going to cut it a little more. All right, and then I'm going to cut the plastic back and just cut it off. So there we have our 3 wires on this side, and we need to make sure we have the 3 wires on that side. Now hopefully, obviously, you want to fix the 2 types of wires to the same color on the opposite side. So now we need to strip the wire off of the 3 wires, the plastic coating off of the 3 wires. And here is an inexpensive tool that you can buy where you would put the wire into the correct hole. And that's not it. Let's try the next one. Start with the largest. But it does take a fair amount of strength to do it. And I don't, have that these days. Here is this tool, which is also, this one's about 50 years old. And I used to use it making something where we cut wires all the time. So you put your wire into the correct sized hole, and I don't know, are these 16, 18? We're going to start larger and then go to smaller. And I did have to loosen the 2 screws and realign those 2 halves before we used it, just because I looked and saw. So the wire, I guess, goes here. This, I think. There, and that cuts off, and I'm going to make that a little bit bigger. Okay. And then do that for each of the wires, and you can see the grips. Just take that cut piece off and make it go away. Okay, hopefully that's enough there. And you have to do the same thing over here. And I guess I'm trying to get like a 1/2 inch of bare wire. And yeah, it's a little, trying to get them in there. It's much easier when you have cut pieces of wire, when your schematic says, take a 14-inch piece of wire. Yeah, well, this is what we're working with. Okay, so now we have 3 things of wire. And an additional 3 things of wire. And we have to start putting them together. If you truly have no soldering iron, you could just put them in, twist them together, tape them up, and hope for the best. But I do have multiple soldering irons, and that's what I'm going to go with. I have a soldering iron here like I used to use back when I did manufacturing, and I bought it at a garage sale because there it was for a few bucks, and I thought, ooh, and we will use that. It does need to heat up. I have a second one I bought, and it doesn't have an on-off switch. It has the built-in tip holder, which is nice, but it has no on-off switch. So you have to turn it on, or plug it in and off and out to turn it on, or put it on a power switch that you turn on and off. So there we are. And I have all these little pieces of old solder back from when I was in manufacturing again. Let's see if this is hot. And the old lady, take a little bit of spit on your finger and see if it sizzles, just like you did for an iron. So, heat rises. Well, it's not real tight, but so you put the soldering iron underneath, and you have to let things heat up. And sometimes when it's finally hot, okay, sorry, that's just becoming loose and not heating up real well. Sorry, Greg. And I dropped the wire, no problem. Also, I used to work nights in a manufacturing place, and during my break from my little 4-hour shift, I would walk around and pick up stuff off the floor that was just going to be swept up at the end of the shift and thrown away. So I have all these little pieces of solder that someone else just tossed on the floor. Okay, not a great job. Mostly not a great job twisting. But you can see how you get it hot and the solder flows in. So if nothing else, it's not neat, but it is an electrical connection. Okay. We're going to let that cool just a minute. And woohoo! And this black one, I think that could have been, well, I guess it's long enough. So, I'm going to turn that off. Here are the 2 black wires. Are you still showing? So you kind of spread the wires up and you can twist them together. And then this, just to show you, this is a soldering gun. It's a little different, and I just thought I'd do it. So I've plugged it in, but it's not on until it's on. And I'm going to press high. So I'm going to press high. Again, I put it underneath the wire. Everything would be easier if we just had 4 hands. And it'll start to heat in a moment.
You can hold stuff?
No, I mean, you're going to need to be able to do it with 2 hands, right? In the manufacturing plants, we might have little vices and things, and actually, I do have some somewhere. I just didn't think to bring any. Perhaps it needs to be at the very tip, but you can see the heat is occurring. And I'm trying to get the solder to flow into the wire and not just in a pool below. I think we got some flowing. Finally, maybe? You can put the solder directly onto the soldering tip or the soldering gun, but you need to make sure that some of that solder actually starts flowing into whatever you're trying to do. Yeah, okay, finally. A soldering gun would be more like, if I had a wet paper towel, I would wipe that solder off, but I don't. A soldering gun is something that you might take to repair wires in a car, although 45 years ago one repaired more wires in a car than these days. Okay, so was just doing that to show people what a soldering gun is. And now I'm going to turn on the iron again. And I'm getting those wires spread out. The first one is hard, and the third one is always kind of hard, because you're trying to make things all sort of the same length. Okay, there we have number 3. And I've turned on the soldering iron. And now we need to heat it up without I was better when I soldered things every day than I am now. I think this actually solder has flux in the core, for anyone that cares. Okay, there we have solder flowing in a fairly decent connection. So, well, sort of decent connection. I got loose wires here, but alright, so now we have 3 wires soldered, and it is time to put some electrical tape on them. And I have this whole selection of electrical tape. The point of putting first of all, electric tape is you want to keep the pieces separated, of course, so they don't short out against each other. So, I'm trying to wrap it from one side to the next, and a number of wraps, trying to make a good connection between the part of the wire that still has the plastic on it. Right? As much as possible, a tight connection. Pull it a little to make it fit. And pull, and I think that's good. There it is, hiding. I don't know if that's a long enough piece. I might have to cut more. Again, we're going to go over the white plastic to try to make a tight connection. And yes, I am going to cut a little more. That was not truly long enough. Because there's a little bit of wire sticking out right there that should have been probably bent in. So here we go. So, 2 wires. I am sure if I did this all the time, it would be a much neater job, but hopefully one doesn't have to do this very often. So, over the green, which would be the ground wire. Okay, there are our 3 wires. Now we're going to take our tape, and you'll notice this is a tape that's a different color than the cord itself, because you just want to be aware of where your breaks are, the breaks, the repaired places in your cord. If you cut the cord again with the mower or something else, and it was in, I don't know, 3 or 4 feet of another break, you'd probably be well advised to just cut out the 3 or 4 foot section and cut away the previous repair and make one new cut, even though the cord would be shorter, and not have 2 repair places close to each other. I don't know about the efficiency of the brakes. So I'm trying to go all the way. If it's supposed to be a waterproof cord, we need to go way past the place where the cord has been sliced. And having it a different color will allow you to see. You probably not want to have this cord outdoors and have any repaired sections lying in a puddle or anything like that. So there you are for that. Take your electrical tape and make a little tiny thingy so you can find it again. And that is repairing a cord. I hope this is useful for whoever might find it. Can you turn it off? Thank you.